Hey guys, I hope you're doing great today. Well, this is our last chapter of our AZ900 fundamentals course. We have done a great job together and we have covered a lot of Azure concepts. And one of the concepts that still remains is Azure monitoring. So we are going to quickly cover it in today's lecture, and this would be our last lecture. In Azure Monitoring, we are going to discuss about the important services that are used to monitor our infrastructure running on Azure. So let's get started and make sure that you have subscribed DevOps Molvi. I really appreciate your support because with the help of your support, we are going to cover our next certification, which is Azure Administrator Associate. So let's get started. And what is Azure Monitoring? Azure Monitoring Tools are aimed to detect and monitor issues in applications or infrastructures. For instance, we have hundreds of virtual machines running on Azure. How we can detect if any of those virtual machines is facing any performance issues, network latency issues, hard disk issues, etc. So, with the help of Azure monitoring tools, we can monitor, we can manage the performance of our resources on Azure. All right, so first one is Azure Advisor. What is Azure Advisor? Azure Advisor is designed to help you save time on cloud optimization. Azure Advisor, just as the name says, it advises, it gives us a couple of advices how we can optimize our cloud resources on Azure. It also makes recommendations. It recommends the best approaches that we must use to optimize our cloud infrastructure on Azure. So, those recommendations are used to help improve reliability, security, and performance. And also, we can use Azure Advisor to achieve operational excellence and reduce costs. So, for instance, if I'm going to migrate my on prem infrastructure on Azure, I must use Azure Advisor so that I can efficiently migrate and manage my infrastructure on Azure with minimum costs. Okay, so that's why we must use Azure Advisor because it recommends the best approaches to protect, to secure, to reliably build infrastructure on Azure. So, Azure Advisor is one of the most frequently used monitoring service in Azure. Just like you can see in this snapshot that I have attached, you can see we have reliability, we have security, performance, operational excellence, and costs. So, Azure Advisor is sharing us recommendations. Now, there are actually 31 total recommendations how we can improve the security of our infrastructure, how we can make it more reliable because there are four recommendations. Performance is already good, and we have operational excellence, one recommendation, cost, three recommendations. How we can reduce our cost, how we can secure our infrastructure, how we can make it more reliable. So, these are actually recommendations that Azure Advisor recommends us. So, we must follow those recommendations, or at least we must check out what are the recommendations, and we must follow all those recommendations so that we have 100% secure and reliable and with minimal costs of our infrastructure. Just like we have three recommendations, and now we can see that one is high impact. So we must take a quick action on this recommendation so we can reduce our cost. We have 20 high impact recommendations regarding security. So that's how we can improve. And once everything is good, Azure will let us know that you are following all of our performance recommendations. You are following all of our security recommendations. You are following all of our reliability and cost recommendations. So for now, I am being lazy. I have performance good, but I have to work on security, reliability, and cost recommendations. So this is what Azure Advisor used for. You can see I have Advisor. We can have recommendations of high availability, security, performance, cost, operational excellence, and we can click on all recommendations to see all the recommendations. Also, we can download in the form of a CSV or as PDF files so that I can share with my team. And by the way, guys, sorry, I can also create an alert, create advisor alerts to get notified for the new recommendations. If I want to be notified with the new recommendations from Azure Advisor, I can create alerts for it. All right, now what is Azure Service Health? Service Health provides a personalized view of the health of Azure services and regions we are using, whether they are healthy or any degradation, any performance outage. We can use Azure Service Health to get a view, personalized view of the health of Azure services, whether every service is operational and it is in good health. Azure Service Health notifies about Azure service incidents, like if there is any performance outage, network degradation, and also about planned maintenance so we can take action to mitigate the downtime. Azure status is a broad picture of the status of Azure globally. We can go to Azure status and we can see that whether our region is fully operational, it is fully functional. So these are all Azure services and these are for us, for customers like us, so that we can monitor, we can watch our infrastructure running on Azure, whether it is fully operational or if there are any downtimes or any maintenance or any performance issues. So these are services like Azure Service Health, Azure Status that we can use. After that, guys, we have Azure Monitor, and it is also Azure Monitoring Services. Just like the name says, Azure Monitor is used to monitor our resources on Azure. It collects, analyzes, and visualizes the data. Okay, I have worked in the monitoring department in my remote job, and I was in service health department where our core responsibilities was to monitor and manage servers running in production. All of those servers were Linux, and we were using a couple of tools to monitor and manage the services running on those servers. All those servers were using Linux operating system, and we were getting data, we were getting packet loss, etc., any latency issues, any performance issues, any hardware degradation. So that is actually a site reliability engineering type of role where your responsibility is to keep the services and servers 100% up. You have to ensure that your servers are giving 100% of uptime, and that's why we must use Azure Monitor to monitor our virtual machines and other resources running on Azure. We can have the ability to monitor multi-cloud resources like virtual machines hosted with a different cloud provider like AWS. So that is actually a good news for a company which is using multi-cloud platforms like Google Cloud, AWS, or Oracle Cloud, and we can monitor the infrastructure on those cloud platforms with the help of Azure Monitor. So it means that Azure Monitor is just not limited to Azure only. We can manage, we can monitor other infrastructure using this Azure monitoring service. We can view high-level reports on the Azure Monitor dashboard, and alerts are automatically triggered on certain critical conditions by Azure Monitor alerts. For instance, if a virtual machine goes down, we must configure alerts for every service down, for every VM down. Okay, if a VM goes down or service, critical service like web service, Nginx, MySQL, if they go down, we must have alerts and we must receive those alerts with the help of Azure Monitor. We must take a quick action so that our performance is not impacted with the downtime. Now, guys, you can see here, this is a broad picture of Azure Monitor. Now, Azure Monitor is playing a central role. It is collecting metrics, logs, and traces from devices, infrastructure, Azure, and other sources, resources like virtual machines, blob containers, and that metrics, logs, and traces are manipulated into experiences. The data is visualized, the data is analyzed, and we can respond according to the data, alerts, and actions. We can autoscale virtual machines. We can integrate those traces, those metrics with other applications. So you can see Azure Monitor collects the data from workloads which are running on Azure, infrastructure running on Azure or other cloud platforms like AWS and GCP. Once the data is collected with Azure Monitor, Azure Monitor then visualizes the data. It also lets us know that this data is coming from containers, from virtual machines, from networks, from storage accounts. And also, we can visualize the data with the help of dashboards, workbooks, or Power BI, or the most important monitoring tool like Grafana. After that, we can analyze the data, we can analyze the log with log analytics, and if there are anything critical, we can create alerts and we can respond to those alerts. And then we can also integrate our metrics and traces with our applications or event hubs. And you can see that Azure Monitor plays a critical role between workloads and infrastructure. And that's how we can visualize, we can analyze our data with the help of Azure Monitor. So that's it, guys. And I'm really happy to complete Azure Fundamentals AZ900 course. And I hope that you will have a better idea about Azure services. We have covered a lot of Azure concepts. And now I'm also on my way to create Azure Administrator Associate course, and I will be uploading it on my YouTube channel. So make sure that you have subscribed DevOps Molvi. I really appreciate your support. And if you find this course helpful, make sure to share it with your friends. And if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. I will see you in the next chapter. Have a good one. Bye.